Nigeria during the colonial era, 1861 to 1963. The annexation of Lagos as a British colony in 1861 marks the official beginning of the colonisation of Nigeria. As the Niger trade was becoming more profitable, the British secured their rights to free navigation on the largest river in the region at the Berlin Africa Conference in 1884-85. By 1906, Britain gained control of the whole territory, which was at the time divided into the colony, Lagos, and the two protectorates of southern and northern Nigeria. In 1914, the southern Nigeria Protectorate was combined with the northern Nigeria Protectorate to create the Colony and Protectorate of Nigeria, which basically forms the borders of modern-day Nigeria. While drawing the borders, the British paid little attention to ethnic, tribal, or religious aspects. The north had long been a relatively poor Islamic feudal society, whereas Christianity was widespread in the south. The British hoped to consolidate their power by establishing a territory stretching from the arid Sahel to the Atlantic coast. Since all important decisions were made in London or by the British governor in Nigeria, the formerly honoured Africa chiefs often lost their traditional authority. The new indigenous rulers, appointed by the colonists, implemented policies and values imported from the motherland instead. On the surface, the unification of 1914 made practical sense, but tribal structures and religious beliefs were adversely affected. The mostly Muslim North generally looked to the Middle East and the wider Muslim world for support and solidarity. The South, on the other hand, is a relatively diverse, though mostly Christian region, whose inhabitants have been politically influenced by the Western world. There were always individuals who fought for self-governance, but the colonial power could no longer ignore the nationwide, mostly non-violent protests against their rule, which increased after World War II. Between 1947 and 1959, a series of conferences took place to negotiate the transition to independence. However, even during the negotiations, the deep religious and ethnic differences became apparent, the main being Christian fears of Muslim influence, and vice versa. Many aspects of modern life in Nigeria were established under the period of British rule: a Western form of education, the increased use of English, and the adoption of Christianity spread during the period. New forms of money, transportation, and communication were developed, and the Nigerian economy became based on the export of cash crops. Areas with lucrative crops such as cacao and peanuts profited. However, by the middle of the 20th century, the call for independence sweeping across Africa and the decline of the territories in the British Empire led to Nigeria being granted independence on the 1st of October 1960, under a constitution with a parliamentary government. Nigeria marked total independence from Britain when it became a federal republic, with a new constitution adopted on the 1st of October 1963, and with Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe as its first president.